There we go. Again, resetting the headset, so hopefully the mic is uh, in sync with what my lips are doing. Not that you're watching anyway. Evening, Shaggy SoCal 2Old4Forza, and it's time for the next track guide for season 44. Yeah, 40. Yeah, 44, and the Falcon XB. So tracks for this upcoming week are Sebring Short, I believe, and then here at Sonoma Short. So I thought I'd crank Sonoma out because I think this is the one that's going to be a little more treacherous than Sebring. But you know, Sebring's got a couple tricky places as well. It's just different, and we got lots of rolling hills here, and you know that's going to unweight the car. And Sebring's just it's flat, but it's bumpy. So but again, what I'll do is I'll get started here with, do a couple out laps and talk through it a little bit there. Then I'll do kind of the quote unquote track walk, get a little more in depth on what I'm trying to do corner by corner with this car, what I think works. And then I'll do a mock race just to kind of, it's partly to validate whether the 24 lap estimate that Matt came up with based off my initial laps still holds true or not. So, anyhow, enough talking. Let's go ahead and get into the test drive. Two different lighting conditions for Sonoma. It looks like I've got the cloudy one this time. But then there's another kind of sunsetty, duskish kind of. But thankfully for both, there's no harsh sunlight or anything we got to deal with. So, okay, second gear here, off camber, cresting a hill. I'll get the back end light if you get back to the gas too quick. No need to brake here. Just ease off the gas. Uh, Try and take this as straight as you can. I didn't get the angle right. I need to work on that one. Still second gear. You can use a bit of the curb here. You can use a bit of the exit here. Just wind it out in second. First gear corner. You can use a bit of the curb on the inside there. And I'm going to use that curb there because it's fun. Cut this one a little bit. Ease off the gas. Third gear through here. Big bump transitioning down the S's. You want to be careful how much throttle and how much steering you have through there. Down here, this is the next tricky corner because you just want to brake enough. And then slowly roll back into the throttle. And if you do it right, you get that little bit of four-wheel drift out. And the first gear for the final hairpin, where I'm sure we're going to be doing a lot of dive bombing. Let's do one more at speed. A little bit on the front straight. Now, usually you can turn the second you cross the start finish line, you can turn in. Just ease off the throttle going up the hill. Gravity is your friend. Brake down to second gear. Gentle on the throttle. You're really not going to get to the throttle late. At least I'm not getting to the throttle till I'm past the apex. Gentle through here. Gentle. Cut this curve a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better. Just before the transition. Use the curb. Use as much exit as you can there. At least as much exit as the game's going to allow us. Down to first. This curve. Cut this curve. Cut that. Ease off the throttle. Ease up a little bit more. Go back in. Oh, that might have been a little too much. Back end just got away from me a little bit. Go back in. Third gear. Down. Brake the whiteboard. A little bit wide there. Be careful not to bind the car up coming out of the hairpin. Give yourself a little room for this kink here because if you take it too shallow, the outside wall comes up really, really quick. But that's Sonoma. Sonoma, Sears Point. You know, I first knew it as Sears Point, Infineon Raceway. So let's do the track walk and kind of let me describe kind of what I'm attempting to do, which then, you know, when I get back up to speed, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, maybe that's not what I really meant to do. But we'll go through it here. There are a couple places I do differ from the braking line just a little bit. Um, the start of the lap is one of them. Really, with this car, some cars you can't do this, but I think this one you can. If you're out all the way to the right, on the normal line, the second you cross the start finish line, you can start turning in for turn one. Um, I know they've got this little line. I guess it kind of designates like I don't know if it's a pit lane thing or not, but you can get all the way over and use as much of the inside of this track as possible. Let the car kind of drift down on its own. Out. We'll see how what I do when I get up to speed, kind of in rhythm. Because I think when I'm in rhythm, I'm not going all the way out to the right side here. You can. I don't. I don't know that one is faster than the other, but usually I'll probably be about mid-track. I don't think I'll ever have one where I'm going to hug the inside. I do want to let the car. I do want to keep the car a bit free on exit so it can accelerate nicely. But regardless, as far as heading up here for turn two and then turn three at the top of the hill. Um, yeah, the outside curbing here is a good, if you can't see the line, just know if you can spot that curbing, that's about where you want to start thinking about letting off the throttle. Um, the key here is, I mean, if you want to start letting off the throttle here, it kind of correlates with the braking line. I think you can actually, if you're daring, you can stay on the throttle just a smidgen more, and maybe about here start easing off. But the idea is you want to, again, it's all about balancing the car with the throttle. You don't necessarily want to snap off completely off the gas and do a huge turn, because that's just it's gonna get the back unsettled and it'll do some weird stuff on you. So what I'll be doing is I want to try and stay on full throttle as long as I can, but still give me enough time to ease off the throttle. You really don't need to brake until you get almost very to the top of the hill if you do it right, at least for me. So I'll let off a little bit. You know, it'll put a little weight in the front of the car. I'm going uphill. Gravity's your friend. The gravity, just the uphill, the incline is going to help slow the car down as well. So just kind of balance, balance, balance. I'll start bringing the car back across, and usually I'm going to aim to try and have it. If you can kind of look where you can see the curbing, and it kind of slowly takes a slightly sharper curve towards the end just by where the two cones are. That's kind of my target. So I'm going to ease the car up here, and as I get to this point here, this is where I'm going to brake. And I think we're in third gear at this point. So it is a quick brake down to second, not reverse, down to second. And what I'm going to try and do is, this is the balance part, because you've got a right-handed turn that's off camera. You can kind of see the slope's already kind of leaning to the left, so we're not getting any help from there. Plus you're cresting up over the top of a hill, which is going to lighten the back of the car up. So this corner is designed to take the back end of your car and shove it to the left. So your job is to see how quickly you can get through it and not let that happen. So it is a balancing act. I'm going to be off the throttle. You might see me feather it. I don't think, if I'm doing it right, I don't think I'll be using the brake at all. It's really just getting the braking done to get enough speed so I can turn the car in and balance it with the throttle as I come up over the hill. So I don't think, unless I'm overly slow or I get the line perfect, I don't think you're going to see me getting to full throttle until you're kind of past the curbing on the right side at the apex. And for me, it's a late apex ideally. So I probably won't be getting back to the full throttle until about here. And even here, as I get back to full throttle, the back end still may be, light enough where it just may kick out a little bit. If it steps out just slightly on exit and you don't have to do a lot of correcting to get the car straight, I think that's going to be fine. But when the back end steps out a little bit more and you've got to start doing counter steering, you're losing time. So second gear here, bring the car out. Probably still, and I forget. And again, my short-term memory is just crap lately. But coming down here, I'm not sure. Let's see, your second gear. I'm not sure if I even get the third gear at this point. Probably do, but regardless, I think what I'm more focused on is getting the car to the right side. And let me just back the car up here a little bit. Again, for what I do is, at least what I'm noticing and what I'm looking for in as far as reference points along with the braking line, is I'm looking at points on the curbing. So again, coming up to turn one, I'm targeting that last little bend in the curb where I want to have the car to touch the curb to make that turn at the top of the hill. Same thing here. If you look, you can kind of see, where that curbing kind of apexes. That's what I'm going to aim for. As I get to it, just as I pass it, that's where I'm going to let off the gas a little bit. Um, Ideally, on your own, in doing your own laps, I don't think you need to brake here. You can probably, if you time it right, you can just come out of the throttle. And this is where it'll take me a few laps to get into rhythm because it's not going to be a sudden completely out of the throttle and turn in because that'll might upset the back end a little bit more. It's trying to find somewhere between, half throttle and completely off, but it is just easing off the throttle again, using gravity as my friend to turn the car in, balance it up. I'm going to try and take this one as a late apex so I can be on the left side. Now this one, there's a couple when we were just after the races last night. A couple of us were still in the lobby, and I got on my teaching soapbox and talking about because I think it was Fusion that kind of mentioned he was concerned about the top of the hill here, and I've said that with this car I find that and pretty much most of the cars is I'm using the wheel to steer the front and control the front tires and steer what the front of the car is doing, and then I use the throttle to kind of steer the back end as I need to. And what I had mentioned on this particular turn and getting through here is I said you have to take it as straight as possible, and by that is the ideal line. And I am not perfect by this by any long shot, but here in second gear is like I'm gonna again. You're already gonna be off the throttle for the first part. Once you get it in the corner, you've got that little, the little short straight between these two turns. You might be able to get back in the throttle a little bit, but I don't think we'll see. Maybe as I get confidence, I can get back to full throttle very briefly, but then I'm going to be right back out of it. What I'm going to try and do is turn the car in, use the inside curb here as much as you can. But again, this is another turn. We're cresting the apex of this corner, crest the top of the hill. We're off camber. If you crest this hill and you've got in either you have a lot of steering angle put in or you have a lot of throttle or both, what's going to happen is as you come over the top of the hill and the front tires catch and the backs are still light, the car's going to step out. So ideally, try to get your practice done where this is where I talk about taking this as straight as possible. It's mainly about getting the car pointed so that you can unwind this wheel almost completely. You might still need a little bit of steering in it, but you want to try and take this as straight as possible. It's going to make it easier for you to get back to the throttle, full throttle sooner. It's the car is going to be less prone when the weight kind of sets back down on it. It's going to be less prone for the back end stepping out. But the trick is because it is a blind crest, you can't really see down the track. You got to find that angle to where you can kind of go straight over the hill because if you go in too early, you're going to shoot out and you're going to be immediately out in the grass on the left side. So try and take the crest of this hill, late apex this as best you can because that's going to allow you to go as straight as possible over this hill, and then use the left side of this course, to bring the car out to the left side. And once you're over the crest of the car set back down, then you go ahead and adjust the steering to get the car straight and on the left side of the track. But that is, I'll probably talk about it in the mock race as I get into rhythm. Just kind of watch the angle the line I'm taking, and what I'm doing with the wheel and the throttle. It is a bit of a dance, but it's really about getting that turn in right and cresting it, straight over, not straight. And again, it's not straight parallel with the track. You're actually going to be straight, but kind of at an angle. So enough talking about that one. So if you survive that turn, just come down the hill. I think you're going to be up. We'll definitely probably be up to third gear at this point. Now you can kind of see, this version of Sonoma, we've got that transition between old asphalt and new asphalt. Some of the race cars we've done here, a lot of times for me that's a good static reference for braking for this corner. So some cars you can. brake right at the line. I think most cars here, you can't really brake later than when you get to that transition point. I think this car, for me with 200 brake pressure and the way I've got my brake pedal tuned, even I'm like, I'm still probably going to brake maybe, again, this is just, you'll, using that as a reference, you'll be able to figure out, how close can I get to it. If you're going to brake when your hood's right at it, that's probably, this is probably too late. You may not make the corner if you're braking here. So I look at it and say it's maybe, I'm poor judge of distance, maybe half a car length to a car length before that transition. But I would say just go with your gut, go with what works best for you. But this is heavy braking, and for me, I don't have a definitive release point. It's just kind of like I get the braking done, and when I feel like I've got the braking done, that's, I'm going to drop it down to second. That's when it'll release the brake and turn in. You can use quite a bit of this curbing. Don't use too much. And again, and again, and again, and again, as I turn the control on. In practice for us, we've got a tire wall there that's going to kind of, keep us from going too far. That's probably not going to be there on Thursday. So, if you want to try and keep it neat and tidy, keep it neat and tidy. You can use this curve. It doesn't really throw the car much at all. And again, late apex it, that'll minimize the chance of getting shot across the track and going off track on the left side. But as you roll back into the throttle, don't be afraid to cross over the curbing and use as much of this line as possible. I mean, I'm 2/3. I mean, at least by the hoods, I'm 2/3, three, of the way over. I probably still have. Look at that. So again, I'm not. That's probably about as far as you want to go without violating track limits. What if I turn the wheel? Is that how close am I? Oh yeah, very close. So there's the reference. Like if you want to get an idea, if you're running hood view, I've never done that before. I should do that more often. So yeah, you can get your tires on the yellow line, and that's for, again, for me, that's, just a little over. I'll put it this way: if you put the yellow line halfway right in the middle of your hood, or you know, here, that would be maybe about halfway between. You guys will judge it, but you can use quite a bit of. Let me get it set back. There we go. You can use quite a bit of the exit road here and not hit track limits. So let me get it back into first. Second gear at this point. You can, if you get a good exit out of the previous corner, if you feel like you want to put it up in third, you can. If you leave it in second with a great exit, you're going to bang the rev limiter right before you brake. And for me, that braking is when that first white line here goes out of view. So I'll be braking about here for this corner. And again, I might be a little further over the left depending on my mood. But this is definitely, for me, this is a first gear corner. And if you look at the track map, now that my red arrow is blocking it, it's a pretty sharp corner. So it's one of these that I'll probably late apex it as best I can. So first gear, turn in. Again, another curb here. If you want to eat a bit of this curb, you can. It's not going to hurt the car all that much. You're going to be going really slow, so it's not going to throw you sideways like that. As you get back on, accelerate. You can cut this one a little bit. This, on the demo laps, you heard this will put the left sides in the air a little bit, depending on how hard you hit it. But you're still, for the most part, going straight. So it's not like you've got a lot of weight on the right side of the car where hitting that's going to shove the car sideways. So we're going to kind of go straight here, but I'm going to bring the car back over to the left. I'm going to cut this one late, and then I'm actually going to, here's how I look at this one. I'm going to use I'm going to cut this next kind of arc because I want to go as straight as I can. It's more important, this next corner is more important to set up and be set up well for. So what I'm going to aim to do is straddle the yellow line where that access road is. And it really is, I'm going to use the left tires. I'm going to put the left tires on the end of the curb here on the right, and then I'm going to hit that same. I'm going to hit the where the curb starts up again on the right side. Again, if I do it right, it'll look kind of something like this. So hit the curb, straddle the line, hit the end of the curb, and usually at that point that I'm set. As soon as I've done that, I use that to kind of help not only get me in position for these to go into the S's, but it's also a good place to remind me where to kind of start letting off the throttle a little bit. So you'll be in just as you get there. I'm going to put it up to third gear. Going to ease off the throttle a little bit to get the car turned in. Ideally, when I'm in rhythm, I am going to use as much of this curve as I can, especially a lot of this. It's again like this one. I'm going to hit it late. And as I come out of this one, I'll roll back in the throttle a little bit. I may ease off again for this next one, and I haven't quite set like have the car. You coming out of this first left-hander, you don't want to be all the way to the right. If you're all the way to the right, there's no way you're gonna be able to carry any speed into this downhill section. So ideally, use a lot of the curb on that previous left-hander to try and keep the car about mid-track if you can. I might be a little bit to the more to the right than I think I should be. We'll see how I do when I get up, kind of when I run some laps back to back and get into rhythm. But what I'm aiming to do here, if I've got the angle right, I am going to let off the gas in third gear, but I am aiming for the start of this curb. And then, as I said in the kind of the faster laps, there is a bit of a pull, here. There is a dip in the road. It'll be very noticeable. So it's like that's one of those. Yeah, I'll carry the speed in. I'm going to be out of the throttle when I hit that because it is going to, the opposite after you hit that bump. The car's gonna get a little bit unweighted, and again, we're kind of cresting over a hill. That's also going to help unweight the car. So if I do it right, I'll carry the speed. I'll be off the throttle here a little bit. I'll start once I get past that apex and past that dip, and the car's kind of settle back in. I'll start to roll back into the throttle. Won't stab it. It'll just be kind of a roll back in. It might get the back end, because we're going to crest down a hill. The back end might start to slide out a little bit. It might just even because of me getting on the throttle, so I might need to do a little balance work. But ultimately, I'm going to try and get the car out, and I will bring it all the way out to the left side. Might even get on the curbing here a little bit. Third gear. Think I will be able to get up to fourth gear here. Gonna let the car just come out to the middle of the track and then start to bring it back across. Because what I'm aiming to do is I'm going to bring the car over and I'm going to aim to get my left side tires on this curbing right where it ends. So I want to have the car back here. Right as you get to the end of this curbing, I've got myself set up as wide as I can, as wide as I dare. Here, it is a quick break in fourth, off. I'm probably releasing. I don't. This is another one of those for how much do I brake and how long. Again, for me, it's done by feel. But usually, if I had to define the braking zone from the time I get on the brakes, where the end of that curb, where the end of that inside curving is, I'm probably letting off just as I'm getting to where these toward the yellow lines meet. It's not something I'm paying a lot of attention to because I'm more focused on getting the braking done so that I can release and commit the car into this next corner because this is another one. You want to carry as much speed as you can in, but you don't want to carry so much that you're going to push wide. And you don't want to have so little that when you turn in, the car actually grips more than you're expecting it to. Because this is one of those, I think when you get it right, you're going to have just that little smidgen of a four-wheel drift through it. But once I get the braking done and I release the brakes and I'm turning in, I might start to get back on the throttle. Ideally, I'm going to try and cut. And again, this is the ideal. Won't always happen. I'm going to try and get across the yellow line a little bit so that I can hit the beginning of this curving with the right side tires, so that I can start rolling back into the throttle. Hold that there, and then I'm going to aim the car out so that I'm parallel with the exit curbing on the left side. If I've done it right, the car will just have that little smidgen of slide to it. I shouldn't need to make any adjustments, as far as counter steering, and I should be able to be back on full power. That's the ideal scenario. Won't always happen. The other thing I'm going to try, and hopefully maybe the mock race that I can set it up, is I'm also going to try and practice that turn and set up situations where I'm going to do the braking, but then try to late apex that turn so that I can still carry some good speed in, but I'm not going to just slide the car out all the way to the left in case I'm following somebody and they get it wrong and they go out in the grass. I want to be able to take a line that I can be, leave a little bit of room on the inside so that as they're going off and they're trying to get back on the track, then I can use that momentum to hopefully set up a pass into I guess, the dive bomb hairpin, because there's going to be a lot of dive bombs here. So fourth gear, coming down, braking for me, I always, with the braking line, always trying to correlate where I'm braking with the billboards on the left side. So this car, it's right for me, right where this white Save Mart, uh, Shop Smart, Shop S Smart, but it's right where the Save Mart sign for me starts. Um, this is the other. This is the heaviest braking that we do in the entire lap. This is also where I will differ slightly from the braking line. So if you saw in the demo laps, I will, you know, the game kind of wants a more traditional. You're going to brake straight in, and I think still they're going to want a late apex, but I tend to diamond it a little bit, or I'm going to dive for the apex a little bit more. So on this braking, I'm already going to point the car in to where that curving starts. So it's brake, 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 heavy braking, and I'll probably release the brakes, hopefully as I get to the curving. And then if I've done it right, then I can just hold the braking, hold the braking, hold the line through the corner. And as you get to the end of the inside curving, I'll start rolling back into the throttle. It's the other one. Be careful how quickly you're getting on the throttle if you still have a lot of steering in. So if you're still about here and you jam the throttle to try and drive out of the corner, you're probably going to bind the car up, and it's just going to, the back end's going to step out, and then you've got to get off the brake and or get off the accelerator and straighten it out and then get back on. So as you're starting to roll back into the throttle, try to think about unwinding the wheel and using, you know use a bit of the track out if you can. I mean, if you got somebody on your outside through the corner, different story, but you don't want to leave so much steering in that when you commit back to full throttle, it's going to bind the car up and spin up the rear tires out of the corner. So let the car come out, unwind the wheel, but then start to bring it back over to about mid track if you can. Because this next kink, you think, oh, I just hold the inside and then take the kink. It narrows up. So you want to be about mid track so that you can take this kink full throttle. You can cut across the line in here. I think it is possible. I don't know if it's possible to actually dirty the lap crossing that line without hitting the wall, but you do want to bring the car out a little bit, just so that when you hit this apex in the kink, you're not immediately shooting across the track into the wall. And that's a lap of Sonoma on the track walk. So let's see if I actually know what I am talking about. But you already know the answer to that. I don't. Let's go ahead and finish the test drive. So much like all the other races, again, based off my initial laps, Matt was estimating 24 laps. I ran 10 last night in rivals, and then just kind of redid the calculation, and it still came into about 24 laps. So usually, I take my best time and I just round it up to the nearest second, figuring, that's I'm not going to run that every single lap, and certainly it's not accounting for pits, for how long we're in the pits. So we'll do 24, and we'll see what the end race timer is. But Matt might shave a lap or two off depending on what I wind up with. So let's go ahead and get started. 24 laps. So still the same cars, same cars I'm racing against, still the same intervals. I'm going to start at the back. Up front, we have the historic racing division that this car is in. And there they go, heading up the hill. And second group is the historic drag racers, which it was a lot of fun watching some of those cars go on three wheels at Spa. I can only imagine what's going to happen to them here. But they're going to go next. And then starting only a couple, maybe about 5 seconds in front of me, are those historic F1 cars. And it looks like what? Looks like we got, I don't know, that's not the Ferrari. Looks like we've got two Alphas, three Alphas. I don't know what the front one is. Or is it two Ferraris? I just see, I can see the symbol there. I know it's the Fiat Alpha symbol there. But anyhow, they're going to be out in front of me. This one, I think I'm hoping I'm a little more competitive with them because there's no major straights where their speed's gonna be a benefit to them. It's the car up the throttle. Yeah, see that's when I'm talking about taking it as straight as possible. That's a pretty good example of that. Oh, that was a little early on the turn in. Slightly distracted and oh, I'd say the bad habit I have sometimes is I'll commit to threshold braking, and then my perception says, "Oh, I can ease off," and then I let off, and oh crap, I got to get back on, and then I can never quite get back on the brake quick enough, and then the car just plows into the corner. Even there, you can see it's like as I came off the throttle, it's not an instant off. It's kind of like, yeah, I need to get off the throttle. Oh, I should have shifted. See, I can't talk and drive at the same time because I push wide. I probably would have caught the guy in front of me if I hadn't been messing up so much. A little slide in the back there. Oh, a little early in the turn in. I think the last time we raced, I want to say the last time we raced here at this particular layout was kind of one of those mid-season races in the Mercuries, which that was a lot of fun. I think this car is not only these, it may be an Australian car, but at its heart, I think it's still got that NASCAR stock car uh, pedigree. Would that be the right word? Maybe not pedigree. Genetics. And if this car was made here, would Ford have raced it in NASCAR? Probably. I'm slowly gaining on them. Up to third. Let's do it in third this time. Yeah, again, for me, I think I like the higher gears just because when I go off throttle, you get a little bit of braking help from the gearing. But again, it's to each their own. You do what you find works best for you. Bumpy, bumpy. I haven't quite gotten the car onto the curb yet. I'm close, and I'll put it this way: I will live with being just off the curbing there. Yeah, really not committing back to the throttle until I'm kind of past the hump. Little check brake there. Oh, I gotta run. No, I don't. Well, I guess it is possible to lock inside the wheel there. Oh, he's going wide. I must have busted a toe link. Ow! It's like, do you know how much this car weighs? Do you really think that was going to work? Yeah, so there, it hit the dip and I got right back, heavy on the throttle, and you saw the back end kick out there. This race is definitely going to be, any race that we do, but I think especially here, it's focus really should be minimizing, just being smooth and consistent, minimizing mistakes that you make, and hopefully being in a position to capitalize when others make mistakes themselves. Yeah, I'm probably using a little too much curb because I'm fine there. It's just it's just my angle in is shooting me out a little too quickly to the left side there. That's a Ferrari. Driving Ferrari, what's behind you is not important unless it is a Shaggy and a Falcon. All the way through. Ooh. We're 10 minutes in. Let's see, 10 minutes at quarter distance. Yeah, I think we're gonna need to trim some laps off of this because we're looking at close to a 40-minute race. That's not factoring in the time on pit lane. Excuse me. Whoop. Ooh. I wonder what happened to him. You notice a lot of times going through that fast right-hander kink, into that kink. Once I've committed in, I'm not really adjusting. I'm not really adding steering. Like if I feel the car starting to push wide, my instinct is more to let off the throttle to try and get the front to come back in line versus trying to add more steering. I don't know if you guys ever raced the Alpha in TNT. It might be before my time, but I always had fun driving that car. Because depending on how you have it set up, it's very similar to the Falcon we're driving, only it's just got a little bit more four-wheel driftiness to it. I'm trying not to hit people. Going to be there, isn't he? Yep. Which is going to put me wide. Yeah. A little bit of a break since I was really far to the inside, but I should. There we go. That whoa is it. I just felt like there's like a bump right before you get on the brakes. And I just caught the bump, and I guess I had a little too much steering, and it back end stepped out a little bit. No. Whoop! Really? Somebody's off. They must have hit the tires. Oh, this is a cluster. Fifth place doing a little off-roading. Definitely going to get one. Maybe not the second one, so I got to be careful. The Aussies get the Falcon I'm in. We got the Falcon that's in front of me. I think that's a late 60s Falcon. That's the Falcon, or is that the Fairlane? Tell. I was trying to see if I could see the hood scoop. Or maybe not the scoop, the bump. A little too quick to the gas. Nice run. Ugh. All right, we will pit this lap. After I force him to go wide. Oh, he breaks around the corner. That he just spun the outside tire. I thought I could. Good. Holy. All right, pit lane. Very, very easy pit lane to get into. Just keep it to the left. And then you go, full throttle. And since it is one of the longer pit lanes, should have plenty of time to get to have a tasty beverage. All right. So it's been a while since I've exited this pit lane. So the nice thing it puts us on the left side for turn 1 or turn 2, actually technically turn 3. So just hug the yellow line all the way up the hill. You'll be in second gear, quick brake, turn, and you're back on the racing line. I'm pushing. I want to find out how early I can get back to full throttle and not have the car go all wonky. It's a little too much in there. God, how slow can you go? Again, for me, that corner I probably won't try and pass. I definitely will try and set people up out of this one if I can. If you get a good run, you can attempt to pass into that corner. And if not there, try to set up a good run out of this corner. And obviously, you want to really get a good run out of this corner, because this will be probably the best place to try and set up a pass. I tried turning in a little bit later just to kind of see what the car would do. I had to check up, so I couldn't get the run out of that corner. Yeah, there's going to be. I think there's going to be quite a bit of contact, incidental contact on Thursday. Whoop. That Charger's had a few scrapes. Oh, he moved over. That's a little aggressive, but good run. Set him up in the exit. Yep, there we go. And that works well with against cars that are definitely much slower than I am, but that will not be an easy move to pull off on Thursday because these cars are very equal. Yeah, a little too much slide there. So the back end stepped out a little bit because I still had a little too much steering, cresting the hill for the amount of throttle I had applied. Pushing. Probably have given a little more steering there. .24 laps is going to be a little long. So let's see. Let's see what lap we're on when we cross the 35-minute threshold. Probably 22 laps is probably going to be the distance. That is probably about the best I've done that all race. And I could have done that better. Jinx myself. Two. See if I can do that lap again. Trying not to get too greedy. Let's see where this one's at. Hopefully it's a good one. Nice. Let's see if there's any more time out there that I haven't found. The left giveth and it taketh away. It's almost 37 minutes, but 126.0. What did I do last night? For the thing, for the oh, I did a 126.282 in Rivals. So found another 2/10 tonight, and there's at least another 10th out there. But again, that's getting into like optimal qualifying lap, you know, uh, try hard hot lap challenge kind of stuff. But that's Sonoma Raceway in the Falcon. You know, I think this car. I think this car. This is going to be a good race with this car. Yeah, it's got some hills, it's got some bumps and like that, but it's got a nice flow to it. It's kind of fun. The car, likes to move around a little bit. So I I'm of the two races, I think I'm going to have more fun at this one than I will at Sebring. But that's me. But with that, I'm going to call it a night. Probably not going to do the Sebring track guide till tomorrow, maybe tomorrow evening. But hope you guys are having a great weekend. For those that celebrate, happy Easter. For if you're not Christian and you're the Jewish persuasion, hopefully you had a wonderful Passover. I don't know what other religious holidays there are, so I will just plead ignorance there. So if your religious holiday has not been mentioned, it is not because I don't. It's probably because I'm stupid and I don't know what it is. But anyhow, too much talking. Again, have a great weekend. Happy racing, and see you guys next Thursday.